I am positive you've had this unfortunate experience. You go to the dispensary, you purchase what looks like a fabulous sativa with your hard-earned money, and you get home only to find out that it's really sedating. We have been talking about this question for a year now. What is the deal with modern sativas and why are they so sedating? I'm Katherine Goldberg, and welcome back to Senior Savvy Cannabis. If you've been listening for a while, we've had experts on to weigh on this issue and explain it from all different facets. And I recently did a deep dive into the genetics of cannabis, the cannabis genome, and came up with something that I thought was fascinating that I wanted to share with you. Just a point of clarification on language. I understand that sativa and indica don't do the plant justice, right? It only talks about the structure of the plant, if it's tall and lanky or if it's short and compact, but it doesn't tell you about the chemotype, what's inside of the plant. I advocate for instead of this sativa hybrid indica distinction, which is, by the way, unfortunately, how the dispensaries are organized. So until that changes, we need to use language that resonates with the consumers. It's a weird situation, totally honest, but I prefer the three bucket system where there's terpinolene dominant cannabis, there's myrcene dominant cannabis, and there's linalool or limonene dominant cannabis. Okay? So on you have the whole spectrum there, right? Um, what I want to address is yes, I understand that everything's a hybrid, and that's true. But so what? How did how I got a German poison from the store a while ago. It was oddly sedating. I looked at the COA and I saw that myrcene was not only the first terpene, but it was like over 1%. So how did we get into this situation if everything is now a hybrid? And what's interesting that I want to share with you guys is that so you know that we're sort of in this THC arms race for worse. I was going to say better or worse, but it's worse. And breeders for the past 20 years or so have been selecting cannabis that maxes out its THC potential. Okay, so there are two interesting things about this. The genes that code for the potential for THC, they are on the same chromosome as the genes that code for myrcene. So when breeders decided to prioritize high THC genetics, the myrcene kind of came along for the ride. And that's why myrcene is the dominant terpene in nearly everything, which is pretty unfortunate. I have also, and that takes place on chromosome 7. There are 10 pairs of chromosomes in the cannabis plant, and they regulate different things. So and might say, okay, well, then where does terpinolene production live? And the potential for terpinolene is on chromosome 5. So a lot of the times it's just bred out and the genome is still there, right? The instruction manual is there, but when so much of the plant's energy goes to prioritizing THC, there's a genetic bottleneck, right? There's no energy left over for other things like minor cannabinoids and terpenes. So that's really unfortunate. And the reason why I bring this up is because I'm lucky enough that I'm learning how to grow my own, but not everyone is in that position. And you shouldn't have to, it's like saying like, oh, I like bread, but like now I have to go buy flour and yeast to make it myself. No, like you should be able to go to a bakery and buy a good loaf of bread. I don't think that's asking that much. And it's the same conversation we're having for sativa flour, right? I want to go to the dispensary and I want to get something that's energizing. And I think the more that we have these conversations now, we have the potential to course correct this industry. And if enough consumers are saying, like, I don't want the 30% high myrcene flour that's hard as a rock because of plant growth regulators, like, I don't think, unfortunately, that we're ever going to get land-raised sativa strains in the dispensaries. I think you have to know someone. You should know your farmer because after you smoke a land race, there's no going back. It's just not. And it's unfortunate because we're in this era of cannabis where all the practices that like industrialized food to make it really bad are taking place with cannabis. The cannabis, it may test positive for mold, so it's being treated with radiation. It's not dangerous, but it lowers the quality of the plant. Um, and you should just be able to get, I know this idea of like the farmers market model failed. I don't know what the solution is, but I just want you to know how to pick out the kind of weed that suits you best. Um, And again, like when you go to the dispensary, I like what I ask when I go is what strains are high in terpinolene. And I was recently looking at the menu of one of the Florida dispensaries, and there were none. So I clicked on the sativa tab, and all of those were high in myrcene. So I know there's a Durban poison out there that someone grows. Um, but yeah, you should know that this is happening and why it's happening. And I just think that the genetics are interesting because the more we understand about how the plant's potential and how it can develop, I think the more fine-tuning we can do to have customized strains that suit us best. And by the way, it's not all cannabis that's sold in dispensaries, but it's most of it. So if you know one of the good brands, please, please tell me in the comments. Tell me where you live, like the state or city, and what the brand is, because I will compile a list for the Senior Savvy community so you guys can save a lot of time and money. Just it's frustrating to buy a strain where you're like, oh, I know I'm gonna get so much work done. I'm gonna be so energized. I'm gonna go to the gym. And it just doesn't make you feel your best. And that shouldn't be the issue, but it is. So I'm curious, I know that many of you guys have experienced that too. I'm not exactly sure what the solution is. I know that there are a lot of like sativa edibles where they add back THCV, which is interesting. I don't think THCV is necessarily energizing, but it does counter the sedation from THC. Um, I don't really think you can destroy the plant matrix and then reconstitute it and call it medicinal. I think we're like, that's really kind of where we are with distillate and people spraying on botanical terpenes on terrible flower. It's unfortunate, and it might come down to knowing your farmer or growing your own. I'm not sure, but I would like to give the shops the benefit of the doubt, to try to do better, to carry products that we care about. And in case you're curious, my preferred range of THC ranges from about 8 to 18%. I know I'm going to be the best version of myself without too much THC. And I know to look for cannabis. If I see myrcene as the first terpene on the COA, I'm not buying it. I also did a video a number of months ago about how to read a COA, just so you can feel confident that you understand that information. It's not hard. I'll just walk you through it. Um, but I hope by having these conversations now, we can tell the industry what we want and we can make some changes because cannabis has the potential to really, really help individuals, communities, society at large. But I honestly don't believe that like this distillate 90% pina colada cotton candy flavored vape is the answer. It's just flour, and that's what I like. So thank you for joining me. And I reached out to the scientist who actually sequenced the cannabis genome in 2011 and was like, I'm your biggest fan. Do you want to come on the podcast? Because I remember in 2011, I was studying genetics and neuroscience, and it was like big news. The cannabis genome had been sequenced, and I was like, dude, like we just like unlocked it. We unlocked it. Customized medicine is here. And of course, people have been creating their own strains forever. And maybe it's just that's what we need to do. We need to create strains that suit us best because what the dispensary is selling isn't it? So I'm curious to hear your thoughts, and I'm glad we have another layer of explanation into where'd the myrcene come from? Get the myrcene out of my sativas. Um, so yeah, do you guys also go by do you like the terpene first categorization? I'm done. Um, I think it just suits us a lot better than this sativa hybrid indica dichotomy. So thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week. Bye.